sliding glass door, storm doors coming this way, the harness disengaged. I don't know if it's broke,
So the door
popped,
had,
or otherwise.
door had nothing to do with the harness disengaging.
Say that again, sir.
The door had nothing to do with
I don't
the-
believe so.
Okay.
It happened in an instant.
So when you wound up on the other side of the door, the only control you had on the dog was the choker?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
The dog apparently doesn't respond to verbal commands. I didn't hear you say anywhere along the line that you called the dog back. The dog just took off, and I don't. Again, this is obedient training specialist. Whether the dog has any type of training where you could have said, come back or stop, or it just.
I was calling his name.
But it just kept going.
It did.
Yeah. Okay.
He's had 2 rounds of training.
Okay.
One was a positively dog when he was a brand new puppy. When I first got him from the SPCA, he was a rescue. And I got him at 8 weeks to almost the day. And they did clicker training. So had we had a clicker, maybe we could have done something different, but we didn't at the time of the incident. And then PetSmart, he did the puppy training, which I know that's not recognized, but he did do a few rounds of training with them as well.
I'm sorry.
How did the dog end up as a rescue at only 8 weeks old?
There was a lot of puppies. They were born on Christmas Day, so the 25th of December. There was 11 of them, I believe. They were named after reindeers. He was originally Dasher. He became Coco, and I adopted him on February 27th.
So the whole
that's-
litter was,
The whole litter was put up, yes. They were born there, I believe. The mother was found, and the dogs were born at the SPCA.
okay. So they didn't surrender the puppies, they surrendered the mother and she gave birth?
Correct.
Okay.
You don't know any background on her, though?
I do not know.
Okay.
Have you ever had any other incidences like this, allergies?
Not at all, never.
None. And does Coco have other socialization other than just the sister dog?
Absolutely. I have a 14-pound Shauna, she's 9. And then my best friend has a pit bull as well. His name is Bruiser. He comes over, they play all the time, the 3 of them. Bulldog pit mix. Excuse me, bulldog pit mix. And they play all the time. It's never a problem. My neighbor across the way, Brian, he has a Chesapeake Lab named Tucker that my dog's been around without incident. I take my dog to the park on a lead, and he runs about. It's never, ever been an issue.
And never tried to get out of the collar before?
Not
This
with
is the
me,
first time?
no. And I walk him all the time. I think he just had his Henri on that day. I don't know.
And when you walk down your street, the same street that
Same
where he was
street.
running, is there a reaction to other dogs, or is he?
Not really. I mean, I have this, I can show you. The SPCA did, I made copies for everyone. They did a dog aggression test, evaluation on him before I took him so they could introduce him to other dogs to make sure he passed the test. He was friendly but curious, is how they labeled him. That's how I understand him to be. Interested but always friendly.
So what are you asking the commission to do?
I'm asking the commission to lower it to a dangerous order. I have a 6-foot fence with a latch. Officer Thomas gave me some suggestions on the basket muzzle as well as a harness that I ordered in her presence on Amazon. It's probably on my porch right now. I have storm doors, I have signs. I'm willing to comply with anything asked. I paid the Puma's vet bills and any follow-up which she didn't need. After all, according to the vet document that's in the report, I'm not just asking for a chance, so.
Officer Thomas, what's Animal Control's position on this?
I mean, just with like any of them, unfortunately, we have to uphold public safety. There's no laws basically advising that the Pumas had to lock their gate. The only thing that we were concerned about was the fact that understanding that it meets the county code, but I mean, we have to uphold public safety regardless. You know, I can't have him running down the street and going and attacking other dogs. I mean, animal control is gonna stay firm, and we have to uphold the law, and unfortunately, as you're hearing today, I mean, unfortunately, I understand the way this law is written, and, you know, we could not go with the dangerous, it didn't meet the dangerous code, so we had to go with the vicious order.
In what way didn't it meet the dangerous code?
If you read the dangerous code, like if this was basically where if he would have just inflicted an injury where it wasn't severe enough for medical treatment to actually have surgical treatment or surgery to suture up an animal, or if he inflicted an injury to a human, it would have met under the dangerous code. You know, but unfortunately, if I have a dog that's running at large and breaks through a fence to another yard, and we have an incident that does cause their inaction to happen, where the dog gets severely injured, unfortunately, we have no choice. We have to, you know, we have to uphold public safety regardless. And I mean, our new law went into effect September 7th, and it's pretty strict in our standing circumstances. It's gonna be up to you guys here what the decisions are, but animal control is always gonna stay firm.
And,
Has animal control been, you haven't been out since, I mean, to look at her fence or any of those conditions for,
The only thing I asked Mrs. Puma to do and stuff is because of her hours of getting out there and try to meet with her, is I asked her to send me in photographs of her gates, of the gate. And I wanted to basically stress highly, I mean, this is down a driveway, this is not like roadside.
I meant the Hilton household, you haven't looked at their fencing or any of that now? Because
there's a picture of it in the report if you'd like me to pull it.
I have a question for Paul, actually. Again, I just kind of want to reiterate what he said, because I know some of you guys didn't hear it. So you said initially that, you know, when you saw the dog running, it wasn't like the dog ran directly at. Right, you said he ran past and was running and kind of got himself into a dead end kind of spot. Is that what you had said?
So when he ran past, he turned, like, because I guess he was running back towards the house because Scotty was calling him. And he turned back, and then the dog started barking, so he ran down this, like, alleyway the pumas have. And it led nowhere, so he turned back around and then found the puma's dog.
Okay. So he didn't make a beeline straight for the dog.
Absolutely not.
And you said there was some interaction at the gate before
Yes.
the pushing of the gate. What was it, could you talk about that a
It
little
was,
loudly?
like, barking, and the puma's dog, like, I don't want to say, like, tried to, like, eat him, but just nipped at his face because he was sort of sniffing into the gate.
They were nose to nose at the gate.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Paul.
I'd like to bring up that it says this order does not include an animal who bites or attacks in response to pain or injury. It is my opinion, and being there, that the Puma's dog lady did engage Coco first and foremost. I understand that Coco was unlawfully trespassing on property, but lady did, in her job of protecting her yard, engage Coco first. And this law basically says, does not include an animal who bites or attacks in response to pain or injury.
I think it also says something to the effect that if your dog attacked another dog without provocation, leaving where he or she was.
Absolutely, there was no
then-
provocation.
Well, the provocation is when the dog left the sidewalk to go into another dog's yard.
That's provocation.
That created the incident.
Absolutely. We're not
So
claiming
your dog
that we
was at-
aren't negligent, that I am not negligent as a pet owner for the lead snapping and the dog slipping his choke chain. And we are not claiming that the Pumas are negligent by not having an affixed gate with the chain that was hanging there. We are not claiming any
No, I
negligence
know.
as an accident.
But-
But we are claiming that when Coco entered the Puma's yard,
That's without a reason.
without a reason, a dog barking on the other side of the fence is not a reason.
I know, but the dog was on his property, and the dog was defending.
Okay. So when our dog entered their dog's property, their dog did engage. Okay, and Coco in defense per the law. Now, my statement is that this is not a Lilo's Law case in any which way.
All right, I'm listening.
And it's my opinion.
Okay, okay. All right.
Well, Lilo's Law does not allow or define serious injury. I have a copy of the vet report that's also in the file. You have it. And it says that she's doing well. My family has checked on the Puma dog every week. My children have made cards, so we check on her status. She's healing well. No follow-up was required for her, according to her documents from the vet. On April 27th, I met with Mrs. Puma. She was watering her garden, and she told me at that time she didn't wish any harm on Coco, that it was unfortunate that it happened. You know, I asked her at that time if she needed any more money for Lady, for anything, and she said no, absolutely not. That the bills that we paid for her care was sufficient, and she didn't wish us any ill will. We also have a text from Carlo, who provided a statement which correlates to what happened. And he said to Aaron, "No problem, sir. Thank you for paying and doing what you had to do again. I hope you and your family is okay, including your dog also. We forgive you. Have a great rest of your day. I hope your hand is better, sir." There's no animosity among my neighbors. It was an unfortunate accident, and we'll do what we have to do.
Serena, animal control is characterizing the bite to the dog as warranting the vicious order? Or is it the human, what he's saying is not a bite, he's saying it was him pulling on the dog's mouth?
No, I mean, that
One would happen without the
understanding
other.
that with what happened to Mr. Voorhees, I mean, he's in the middle trying to separate.
Okay, I get that.
So, you know, his incident, not necessarily, you know, is animal control gonna look at the fact that that would make any precedence to this case? You know, what we're looking at is the fact that he was at large, you know, he physically went to a gate, okay, he went in, regardless of what dog engaged, he still inflicted a severe injury. This would have never happened if he was secure. There's nothing in the law stating that her gate has to be secure and fixed or locked. So, you know, even if that gate was wide open and Lady's standing on the other side, you know, and he engaged and went into the property, and we had an altercation where his dog, again, is still inflicting severe injury, animal control would still have no choice to follow under the vicious code. You know,
I just
it
want to
wouldn't
be
meet
clear
the,
about
it would
that.
not meet the dangerous code.
I just want to be clear about the difference between his injury and
Sure,
making
sure, I
sure that
understand.
wasn't the absolute purpose why. Okay.
Right, I mean, no, he clearly stated what he was doing and how he, you know, his hand got injured. So, that, I mean, that goes in the file, because we still have to file the bite report, exposure report, et cetera.
Understand.
But that's not taking precedence.
Thank you.
I mean, it's, just to give you a different example, it would be no different that if they were walking Lady and they were walking Coco, Coco broke free, went up and sniffed, okay, caused a chain reaction to happen, and next thing you know, we still have another severe injury given by the complainant's dog. You know, it's still gonna follow under that vicious code, and unfortunately, we have to issue it. Understand the circumstances of the outcome. We don't necessarily like the outcome. But fortunately, these things do happen, and we still have to uphold public safety.
Do you have anything additional to add?
Other than, we'll do anything we need. You direct, it needs to go back to more classes, we need a stronger fence, he needs to be muzzled at any given time. Change or teaching me how to actually affix a harness, that it's not the dog's fault, that it is my fault. Whatever the family has to do for the preservation of life, to be destroyed by vicious order is horrific. For a puppy getting free and getting in a scrum. Whatever the board recommends for us to do to preserve life, even as much as talk to a rescue agency, it costs $6,000 that will allow Coco, even if all the way up to the Special Court of Appeals, will even remand the dog, and it's in accordance with Maryland state law, to go live on a farm. If that's where it has to go to, because of human error, because of my error, then absolutely we'll follow through. We are asking, and we're pleading, we're begging the court, or the panel, to remand the order from vicious. We are good, responsible neighbors. We attempt to raise good, wholesome individuals. We interact with our community. We don't ever want to present a threat to our community. We do exactly the opposite. And we are accountable for our actions, including financially.
I make a motion, we close the testimony and deliberate.
Second.
All in favor?
Comments?
Yeah, the comment before. I understand animal control's position. You know, Leela's law is just well intent but poorly constructed. They have no latitude. So,
My comment, I got two sides to this. One is, on the plus side, the dog broke loose. You know, it wasn't, you know, somebody just didn't release it or was taking it out for a walk without a leash. I mean, it broke loose, okay? Secondly, it didn't appear that the dog was looking for a fight, because it ran up and down the street and ended up in the confrontation, but it wasn't, didn't make a beeline from your property to that other dog. I also heard the young boy say that the dog was bit on the nose first, so I believe there was some provocation. Yes, it was on the, you know, neighbor's yard and that, but the fact that it was bit on the nose first, it reacted. On the negative side, the fact that the dog needs 2 leashes is of concern to me, because that tells me that dog, you know, it's got some kind of behavioral issues that require that. So that's where I'm a little bit torn. But I do think that Lilo's law is a bit of a stretch in this particular case. The pictures of the wounds didn't seem as severe as what we've seen in the past that would justify that. So I'm leaning more towards lowering this to a dangerous. I don't. So that's where I'm coming from.
yeah, I agree with you, Larry. I believe that based on the seriousness of the wounds, nowhere near like what we saw before. Certainly, all dog bites are bad. I won't argue
Yep.
that. This, I don't think, goes down to that degree. So,
Yeah, and there's no priors on Coco, correct?
I'm gonna say about the same thing. However, this form here that you got, it's kind of like a temperament testing thing done on these dogs. However, it's not as good. And this was done when that puppy was 8 weeks of age, correct? It does say, how does the dog react to another animal? It's interested, but friendly. Okay? You can interpret it 2 ways. It's interested, however friendly. Okay? I would suggest going to an obedience instructor. There are some out there. It's CTA or DOTC. CTA is Canine Training Association. They're reputable. They have good instructors. DOTC is Dog Owners Training Club. I don't have the numbers. You have to research that. It's a big dog. He's just a young dog. He's going to get bigger. He's going to fill out even more. I would suggest obedience training for this dog. And they're going to tell you what type of collar to use on this dog. Was a harness correct? I'm not sure they are. I've always trained without harnesses. Even some of the bigger dogs I've been around trained without harnesses. That's up to that instructor to evaluate that dog and see where they go. Your collar, a choker collar on him, you got to remember, all their muscle is in their neck, their chest, and in their head, okay? This is a dog that's massive, and he's going to get bigger, so go with that instructor and see what they recommend for that dog.
What do you recommend?
Me?
Yes, you
No, I don't know your dog personally. I'm not going to recommend anything. I just told you 2 obedience,
CTA and DOCT.
DOTC and CTA.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know their numbers offhand. I've trained with them, and they assess your dog on a personal, individual case, and they'll evaluate that dog and tell you what they think you should put on that dog. I don't know what kind of leash you had. So that lunge line, I don't recommend at all. You know, free rein, whatever you want to call it. I don't recommend that at all on this type of breed. But to find out a good obedience instructor, it's not going to be a week thing. it's gonna go into a couple of months, maybe 3 months training. But I'm gonna recommend that for the boy. And I think that'll work better for him. And decide on who's gonna be the trainer. You've gotta be consistent with one another. You can't back down, because this is the only thing that dog's gonna understand. Voice commands, you learn very good with that dog and follow through, okay?
So, no, I mean, I think that you guys are very responsible people. You've done some training in the past. I feel strongly that you're willing to do what it takes, as you stated. So I'm also in agreement that, to downgrade it to dangerous dog.
I also concur to downgrade it from vicious to Coco down to a dangerous order.
Make a motion.
Motion to downgrade this.
I make a motion to downgrade Coco's from vicious to
Dangerous.
dangerous.
A second.
Second?
Yes.
All in favor? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hilton?
Yes, sir.
This.